President Toroama wants independence by 2025. Research paper on the informal economy released. And Rugby Union 7th tournament deferred yet again.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Tuesday's news. The National Research Institute today released its latest discussion paper on the informal economy titled Innovation in the Informal Economy, Lessons from Case Studies in Selected Areas of Papua New Guinea. From the paper's abstract, the country's informal economy has a narrow base and lacks diversity and innovation, thus limiting its potential for growth. Kilawani reports.
The PNG National Research Institute, in its presentation of its latest discussion paper earlier today, focused on the need for policy intervention for informal enterprises transition through to SMEs or small to medium enterprises. The research paper, headed by Dr. Elizabeth Coppell under the PNG Australia Partnership, is an investigation of innovation of the informal economic activities. Informal economic activities cover enterprises that are not registered with the PNG Investment Promotion Authority, covering all sectors.
Our interest was to identify who's driving innovation and diversification in the informal economy, how we can support these people to grow their enterprises and transition to the formal economy. So that was the purpose of the study.
Per findings, the paper outlines that intervention must focus on developing strategies that can assist SMEs that demonstrate promising signs of innovation and diversifying their business.
Those people who are showing potential because they also create employment opportunities for young people. If we identify those people who are driving innovation and provide them the support they need, access to finance, access to materials, technical resources, then their businesses have a higher chance of growing, becoming sustainable and formalizing.
Due to limited funding, the extent of the research covered National Capital District, Central Province and Eastern Highlands. PNG SME Corporation representative Barry Saucia highlighted that the recommendation of policy intervention in the findings of the paper may not be the best solution going forward as structural reforms take time. He further stated that while there is a larger population of Papua New Guineans operating in the informal economy, it is imperative that informal economy participants are leveled up to the formal sector through awareness campaigns. This is where they have a greater chance and opportunity to access the variety of government and private sector support which are currently available for formally registered enterprises. Example, BSP and NDB loan funding. In Papua New Guinea, the informal economy is central to the livelihoods of 80 to 85% of the population. In line with PNG SME's policy target of reaching 500,000 SMEs by 2030, the paper has raised a number of recommendations. One is the need for training and focus on current and potential initiatives which can support innovative entrepreneurs for expansion. Kilawani, National EMTV News.
Finance Minister Sir John Pundari says the process to adjust Section 65A of the GST Act in February has been a benefit to the government. In signing an MOU with Bank South Pacific last week on digitalising non-tax revenue collections, Minister Pundari said the evolution of the change of process under Section 65A briefly means that the Department of Finance will now retain 10% GST on all government-paid contractor payments and remit that money directly to the Internal Revenue Commission.
On February 25th this year, Minister Pundari launched Section 65A of the GST Act. It was eventually implemented on the 3rd of May, and 10 days later, the benefits were already seen, with the Department of Finance headquarters alone collecting more than 470,000 kina in GST retentions to be remitted to IRC. This is aside from national government agencies and Department of Finance cash offices in the 22 provinces countrywide, which are yet to be reported for their collections.
It's going to do a great deal for our country, a great deal of good in improving our governance, minimizing malpractices, corrupt practices, etc. And I think we'll also encourage good stewardship of our public money and the way we expand and use public monies for that matter. We must always endeavor our best to continue to improve our flawed systems, let me put it that way.
Minister Pundari said a change of process reveals that aggregation of isolated incremental changes add to the benefits to improve revenue inflows mileage to government. Pundari, who is also Kompiam Ambum MP in Enga province, also raised concerns on corruption and malpractice in financial management in PNG through government circles, citing a paragraph from the 2003 Public Expenditure Review and Rationalization Report, which described the fiscal sustainability of the country's situation at the time.
The Department of Finance was task and responsibility, and the mandate of it is to regulate and to ensure that we work within the parameters of ensuring our responsibilities are within the context of public expenditure or public money. Our oversight in our roles and responsibilities of managing public money under the Public Finance Management Act. We've got to do the right thing to ensuring that the responsibilities and the roles of bank officers, bank clerks, and tellers are left to the commercial banks.
The minister says COVID-19 has depressed and dampened many of PNG's benefits socially and economically, making the nation's aspirations look less achievable individually and as a nation. However, he says collective efforts in building, restructuring, innovating and enhancing government systems enable a better way forward for prosperity. Dennis Orere, National EMTV News.
More changes in policy making and regulation is expected in the mining sector. Mining Minister Johnson Tuke says the Mining Act has been reviewed and is before the National Executive Council for final blessing. Tuke made this remark at a dinner last night to welcome newly appointed Vice Minister and Rikos MP Peter Sapia.
The mining sector has been a key revenue driver for the country. Despite the slow economic growth, the sector has remained instrumental. Last night, the mining minister says changes are soon to be effected. Minister Tuke says the Mining Act is before NEC and hopes to be passed and endorsed.
We put into policy the 4 or 6 mining policy acts, which is part of the main Mining Act, which is still at the NEC.
According to the Mining Secretary Harry Correa, the landscape of the mining sector is set to change for a win-win situation for all stakeholders. He says past encounters have been difficult for businesses in the mining industry. Secretary Correa says 6 policy changes are in the pipeline and rely heavily on the endorsing of the new Mining Act.
We've also drafted the mining policy, the offshore mining policy, the sustainable mining development policy, the mining involuntary resettlement policy, and the mining project rehabilitation and closure policy. So 6 policies to look after our industry. But those policies are were made contingent on the passing of the Mining Act.
Last night's event, the mining department and some of its players held a short ceremony to welcome the recent appointment of the Vice Minister for Mining, Peter Sapia. Acknowledging the much-needed changes in laws and regulation in the mining sector, the Vice Minister declared his support.
I look forward to working with the department and the government so them to assist my duties as a Vice Minister for Mining.
Concluding the night's event, the Mining Minister says the past 2 years have been hectic for the department to bring policy changes for the industry. He says the bottom line is for a win-win situation for all stakeholders.
Let's somewhere, somehow, change the fashion and the manner how we conduct businesses. You know, life should not be the same as today.
Jack Power Jr., National EMTV News.
Public Service Minister Joe Sungi, together with Vice Minister Salio Waipo, recently held a meeting with staff of the Public Service Commission. This was part of the minister's engagement with the department staff. The aim is to understand the issues faced by the organisation and work towards addressing them.
In a small ceremony last Friday, the Public Service Minister spoke about a number of areas that needs improvement. Among them is the need to improve the human resource recruitment process and have it digitalized. This will ease the burden of the review process by Public Service Commission when public servants lodge documents for review. This comes in light of the huge number of reviews that public servants lodge with PSC. He says digitalization of the HR process would be an efficient way of dealing with such issues. The minister further highlighted the need to ensure the process of appraising staff is done diligently. He says supervisors must ensure the appraisal form is filled accordingly to show poor performances. This is enough to dismiss underperforming public servants and public servants with unacceptable attitude. The minister further highlighted his vision to ensure public servants receive housing as a condition of employment, and he will ensure clear policies on this are put in place. This engagement with the Public Service Commission is part of his engagement with all agencies under the Public Service Ministry. Similar engagements have been made with the Department of Personnel Management and the Pacific Institute of Leadership and Governance. The minister says it is important to understand challenges and work towards addressing them. Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
In the news ahead, landowners pay respect to one of Morbe's greats and founding father of the nation. That story and more after the break. Welcome back. The people of Morbe recently honoured Sir Jerry Nalau, Morbe's senior statesman and one of PNG's founding fathers. He last spoke on camera with EMTV during the funeral and burial of Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare in March this year. He passed on at his daughter's residence in Lae 3 weeks ago. Sir Jerry Nalau served the country as a patrol officer, then district commissioner, before serving as Morbe's premier and later becoming the first governor for Morbe under the new reforms. 6 Ahi landowner villages of Lae paid their last respects to this great man.
The 6 landowner villages of Lae, including Butibam, Yalu, Kamkumu and Yanga, united and paid their respect to late Sir Jerry Nalau's family at the Sir Ignatius Kilagir Stadium last Thursday. Sir Jerry Nalau's daughter and younger brother and former ACP Northern Region Giosi Labi and other family members were there to receive the IE landowners and their contributions. Representing the landowners company IE Investment Limited, Deputy Chairman Guy Galang said, late Sir Jerry Nalau has served PNG, Morbe and Lae effectively under the principle of unity.
Come here, lo swim this passion, long this papa, I'm leader. So me come here, me connect sa talk here, lo come lo swim sa sorab lo me
A person like late Papa Sir Jerry, I mean no losing thing lo me IE people. And me set up them fight on them talk strong long me mas kat good place down in Lae City.
Me like convince. Talk sorry long me ego long this great leader. I'm true, one black kasiga, blong mi lahi, one black tabwing.
Sir Jerry Kasip Nalo was born on the 2nd of March 1938. He is the third born from a family of 11. Sir Jerry originates from Morbe's Finchafen district. He's married and had 6 children. He was a close brother to late Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare and a founding member of the Bully Beef Club while serving as a patrol officer.
From there he was posted to Yangoru as ADC Yangoru. One time he rode in the motorbike to Wewak and Imadawi, same as Somare, the Grand Chief.
One of the chief of the Ai villages from Yalu and Morbe's former provincial administrator, Benson Nablu, also paid his tribute and described late Sir Jerry Nalau as a great man and true servant of the people.
So those type of strict discipline and attitude to serve, I cannot see it anymore today. Honestly, I cannot see it today. I challenge anyone to come and tell me otherwise. And this is the type of people that were truly the leaders in the administration.
Julie Badui, Owa, National EMTV News, Leh.
District health workers in the Eastern Highlands province have been trained to conduct COVID-19 surveillance and to collect test samples from patients. Health workers will be given specimen kits and PPEs to carry out surveillance in the districts. One of the challenges, however, is storing the specimen while awaiting transportation to the lab for testing.
These are health workers in the Eastern Highlands province. They were given a 3-day COVID-19 training in Goroka, funded by the World Bank and facilitated by NGO Touching the Untouchables. TUT's country coordinator for COVID-19, Oprah Ken, said one of the key areas addressed in the training was surveillance.
All team must find him out this last week. Na try to study him how move go come na this lakan inside them contact tracing to him come. So sabos one black is him. Also surveillance team how all bago na find him out. Okay, it's last week man. Stop one happen got contact one time to start. Na must find him all come no test. Lo make so some all no kiss him all kiss him.
William Mark from the National Department of Health's Public Health Division said this training will enable them to identify cases and collect specimens as well. However, one of the challenges will be storing the specimen and transporting them to the Institute of Medical Research for testing.
We tell them that if you don't have any facilities to keep your specimen safe while waiting for the surveillance team with vehicles to come in and pick them, don't risk by collecting specimen that cannot be transported into town for testing.
According to the Deputy Director, District Health Services, Kairo Opa, COVID-19 cases have been identified in the districts. Health workers have been infected and so far 3 have died. Opa said the training will help health workers prepare for COVID-19 patients, seeing that some staff have been reluctant to treat these patients.
Infection is also contagious, and you cannot mix them with the other general health conditions. So honestly speaking, at the district or provincial level, we are not up there yet.
Apart from surveillance, infection, prevention control, clinical management, risk management and community engagement were the other aspects covered in the training. Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News.
Governor-General Grand Chief Sir Bob Dadai has personally seen a project through to its completion. It's a new duplex for staff of the Governor-General's office. The building is located within the vicinity of Government House. Alexia Sengi with this story.
The duplex is built around the cost of 200,000 kina. Pastor Peter Jesse of Good Shepherd Lutheran Church blessed the structure with Secretary to the Governor-General, Bill Toraso, giving the honor of opening it. This is the first of more to be built within this year for staff of Government House.
Brand new house to the staff and the families who can dwell this evening. Thank you. The house is now open.
The duplex would be occupied by 2 staff, Henny Amuke and Bill Andon. Henny Amuke is a gardener who does all the cleaning and pruning of gardens at the Government House. He usually lives at 7 Mile and travels to work.
sleep no winner. Me can walk here, Miss I came on 9 o'clock. Who's in there?
Amuke is now a placed man and has pledged his loyalty to the head of state and his role as a gardener. The Governor General has also planned to build 4 more similar duplex for staff of the government house to be accommodated.
Governor General, His Excellency, has alluded to the staff. He wants to provide 3 or 4 more duplexes this year for staff so that we can accommodate them here.
Alexis Sengi, National EMTV News.
The autonomous region of Bougainville, like East New Britain province, used to be the leader in cocoa production. Unfortunately for ABG, years of conflict and slow restoration has seen production decline. Bougainvillians are resilient, bouncing back from the loss and slowing rebuilding that agriculture reputation. In the south, a partnership with the PNG Cocoa Board now sees massive restoration work.
All right, let's go and have a look.
Silas Paisi is an extension officer attached with the PNG Cocoa Board. He is currently based in Buin town, looking after the Buin Central Nursery. The nursery was established following a memorandum of understanding signed in 2018 between the South Bougainville District Development Authority and the PNG Cocoa Board. Since the establishment of the nursery, over 28,000 seedlings have already been distributed to 171 farmers in South Bougainville. The nursery currently has 40,000 seedlings in stock that will be ready for distribution within the next 2 months. Apart from that, Silas and the team have grown 18 varieties of clones to see which best suit the climatic conditions of South Bougainville. Once a type is identified, that clone will be maximized and distributed throughout the district. Silas was given the opportunity to update the Agriculture Minister John Simon and the South Bougainville MP and Minister for Communications Timothy Masiu.
As per our inspection team from Cocoa Board, this is the largest cocoa padu garden in Bougainville. We got 21 trees per row, per variety. So, and blongem now I'm double rows. So it's 5 and 37, 13 one, and we got double rows. That's 42 trees.
Plans are in place for nurseries to be set up in Siwai, Bana and Torokina with 50,000 seedling capacity. Under the MOA, the target is to plant 3.5 million seedlings that has the potential to boost cocoa production in South Bougainville. This DDA partnership with the PNG Cocoa Board was highly praised by the Agriculture Minister.
Please continue to support the industry. The industry is good, it's growing. And I'm very, very happy. I'm happy with what I'm seeing. It's just that we need to secure some more money to support the plantations, and that will increase the production.
As a result of a partnership that the South Bougainville District Development Authority has had gone into with the PNG Cocoa Board to actually start on nurseries. And this nursery in Buin DPI station is the first nursery according to the MOA.
So me believe was our Buin people are very hardworking people, industrious. You got good background. You got all resources stuff. Or you got manpower, land you got.
Cocoa Board has a similar arrangement with North Bougainville, which was signed in 2014. 4 years of that agreement now sees 2 main nurseries established at Banio Plantation and Sorokan with 46 other feeder nurseries. Over 420 seedlings have been distributed to 2,432 farmers. Cocoa Board is also assisting with freight subsidy covering remote areas of Selau, Kunua in North Bougainville and West Coast in Torokina. The freight assistance fetched 1.3 million kina as farmer net income over the last 5 years. The PNG Cocoa Board has its regional office in Buka and sub-branches in Arawa and an officer in Buin. Shamin Poreambeb, National EMTV News.
And now looking at the NAS Fund market report, the kina closed unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, Yokina will buy $0.2775 US dollars, $0.3524 Australian dollars, $0.22 euro, and 29.67 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York closed, gold is trading higher, coffee and cocoa closed higher, and copper closed lower. Palm oil closed lower, crude oil is trading higher, and copper closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 54.34 points lower. The ASX 200 is trading at 50.5 points higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 50.8 points higher. Among stories after the break, the first joint supervisory body meeting between the national government and the ABG in Kokopo. Stay with us for the details. Welcome back to the news. President of the autonomous Bougainville government, Ismail Toroama, is keen on seeing Bougainville gain full political independence by 2025. The president made these remarks today in the first post-referendum consultation with the national government in Kokopo. He said both governments have cooperated over the last 20 years in implementing the Bougainville Peace Agreement, and the referendum result of 2019 is a step towards realizing Bougainville's aspirations.
Minister and the Honourable President.
The statement by President Toroama outlines the official position of the autonomous government. It echoes the overwhelming 97.7% that voted for independence in the 2019 referendum.
All that we have done in the last 20 years, whether in weapons disposal or autonomy space, were intended to bring us closer to this day, when we should consult over the outcome of the referendum and reach an agreement on the future of Bougainville. Our position on the future political status of Bougainville is clear. Bougainville must now have its independence within the next 4 years through the election of members to the Parliament of the independent state of Bougainville by June 2025.
The post-consultation period is for both governments to discuss the outcome of the referendum. It's a process that is captured under the Bougainville Peace Agreement and will carry on until an agreement is made on Bougainville's future.
When both governments signed the Bougainville Peace Agreement in August 2001, we committed ourselves to a deferred 15-year referendum period to allow time for our people on both sides to heal the wounds of the conflict and ponder over what we need to find as a final solution for Bougainville and Papua New Guinea. While there is still work to be done on autonomy, the focus of our government and the people is on its last leg of the referendum process, and that is on the required consultation over the outcome of the referendum vote.
With President Toroama clearly stating the stance of his government, Prime Minister James Marape gave assurance his support of Bougainville's aspirations remains steady. However, he expressed concerns on how this will have an effect on national unity.
Hold such an important conversation together that calls to affect the sanctity of the union we both have as what is sovereign territory we have, and this discussion goes to question the total sovereignty of our nationhood. But I believe that on both sides of the Bismarck Sea, on both sides of the Isles, on both sides of our people, greater common good can be found and consensus can be reached. This conversation is not something that we must be fearful about. It needs to be made.
Moreover, the Prime Minister was quick to point out that Bougainville is a special case, and if the national government fails to ratify the referendum results, the motion would be withdrawn and resubmitted for further consultation.
And so, Mr. President, we come to the table with good intent, and if I can put it right from the start. And for us, the principles that His Excellency Rampola reminded us is the principle that we remain committed. The principle as entranced in the Bougainville Peace Agreement is the guiding work document from the PNG side, and I know from the Bougainville side also. We remain committed and guided under the total overarching embrace of our national constitution.
Stanley Over Jr., National EMTV News.
Capital Insurance Group has supported the Cheshire Disability Services with a cheque of 16,000 kina this morning. Adrian Wamp, representing the insurance company, says one of its core values is community development, and this is one way of achieving their value.
The sponsorship of 16,990 kina will go towards assisting the organization with insurance covers, especially in the three areas of medical, property and public liability.
The insurance premiums keep on escalating every year. And as a not-for-profit making organization, it's very difficult for us to be able to sustain some of these risks if we do not have the funds that we need. So getting an insurance company coming to bear that risk for us and to pay for it, I think it's a great call on their side and it's something very much appreciated.
Capital Insurance Group is a 100% nationally owned company and has been in existence for 26 years now. The partnership between CIG and Cheshire Disability started in 2019 with volunteers from the company who went out to assist the organization in teaching and so forth. CIG's Marketing and Community Engagement Officer, Adrian Wamp, says they aim to achieve community development and also drive to achieving inclusiveness, especially for people living with disability.
People should become the best version of themselves and become active members of the society and contribute meaningfully to the development of this nation. And Cheshire is just doing that. Cheshire is giving people the opportunity to do that, and it falls in line with our core beliefs, our values.
Mr. Wamp is encouraging other corporate organizations to support organizations such as Cheshire Disability Services. Capital Insurance Group also supported Cheshire Disability Services with 2,500 kina for their Red Feather annual fundraiser, which will be held on Thursday, the 19th of August, 2021. Gertrude Gabi, National EMTV News.
6 suspects, all men aged 18 to 58 years old in Mount Hagen, were arrested and charged for the death of a man, Simi Lange, from Day District in Western Highlands Province. One of the suspects is 58-year-old Winterford Midiwabu, who is a policeman attached with Mount Hagen Police. 5 others are sons of police officers: 18-year-old Jordan Hart, 24-year-old Stephen Kama, 20-year-old Rodney Kaios, 19-year-old Newton William, and 21-year-old Cletus Nuli. They appeared before the Mount Hagen Committal Court last Friday and were remanded at Baisu Jail awaiting court proceedings. The court heard that the 6 suspects agreed and caused grievous bodily harm to Semi Lange on the night of March 26th in front of Mount Hagen Police Station, which left him bleeding to death. The cause of the incident is yet to be established. And Chuka Sports is next. Hunters regroup for round of the Interest Super Cup. Stay with us.
Chuka Sports.
Welcome to Chuka Sports. After 3 consecutive losses, the SPPNG Hunters have dropped to 11th on the congested Interest Super Cup ladder. The Hunters' next break following the split round will be a welcome respite for the side, who are currently facing a shortage of available players due to injuries and suspensions.
It's all hands on deck for the SPPNG Hunters as they face an injury and suspension crisis, with a number of key players being sidelined. Unfortunately, the side that took to the field over the weekend was handed a lesson in rugby league as the Hunters were humbled by the South Logan Magpies 48 points to 14. with the Hunters being outclassed in the second half of the match, despite the score being 12 points to 10 at halftime in favour of the Magpies. Hunters coach Matthew Church stated that this situation was expected over the course of the season, with the Hunters going through a rough patch in form. The true character of the playing group will emerge in the way the players react to the current circumstances, with several players expected to make their return for the Hunters in time for the next clash with the Redcliffe Dolphins on May 29th, in a split round that gives the PNG side a rest next weekend. Huxley Lovai, Trukai Sports.
Former PNG international Marcus Bai signed with the Melbourne Storm in 1988, and the following year the club took home its first premiership title in NRL. More than a decade later, another PNG star is carrying the torch for the Melbourne Storm in the NRL. Justin Olam has the backing of Marcus Bai and fans in PNG.
Former Melbourne star and PNG international Marcus Bai is still very much part of the Storm with a recent visit to the club.
Come up and have some stories and something to say. Obviously with the club for 6 years, and the club has gone that far ahead of what they are, and very professional now. So just come up and help out and see how the boys go today.
Melbourne Storm have taken home 4 premierships since their inception into NRL. The former winger who joined the club in its inaugural year in 1998 says the club has come a long way.
Look, I think 21, 22 years ago, we never thought obviously the club would be this far. And what John Rebo and all these guys that did a long time ago, Craig Bellamy and Craig and Frank and since 2003, been part of that from 2003, but they've taken over from there and they've never looked back from it. After what, 4 or 5 grand finals, been very competitive until today. So we're proud of it. We're proud to be part of the club, and the legacy keeps going on.
While the likes of David Mead, Alex Johnston and Rhys Martin are bracing NRL as PNG internationals, the story of Olam rings well with Marcus in that both made the NRL straight from PNG's domestic competition.
Very proud. I think after 13 years, and I left in 2003, and no one, obviously, there's a lot of David Mead and other boys being with the NRL, but to be able to see Justin come from the basically the similarities of I come from the coast and Justin come from the highlands, and to be able to come and make it through the Hunters Intra Super Cup that the government and PNG Rugby Football League has built to be able to give our young boys the opportunity to come up and do. Probably experience some of the things that I've experienced, and I'm very proud of Justin. Took him probably 2 or 3 years, and now he's there, and he knows that he's got a lot of support from 8 million people who are in Papua New Guinea. So he's doing really well. We're proud of him, and 8 million guys, 8 million people, the full support of Melbourne.
Kilawani, Trukai Sports.
Still to come in Trukai Sports, another deferral for the Sports Talk Rugby Sevens tournament. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. With much uncertainty due to COVID-19 in recent months, the 2021 Sports Talk Rugby Union Sevens tournament has been rescheduled further, hopefully for the final time. This time it is scheduled to the 2nd and 3rd of October 2021.
It has been a tough year so far, with the COVID-19 pandemic still in the midst of the population. Since the nationwide isolation and lockdown by the national government, organized sporting competitions have been greatly affected. The annual Rugby Union Sevens calendar has also taken a hit. The annual Sports Talk Sevens tournament, scheduled for Easter weekend, had to be postponed due to the nationwide isolation. And with no real indication of normalcy in sports, the tournament has been further rescheduled, this time to October. 24 teams have already registered, plus 2 on standby, who have also made payments. only a team from Daru, Western Province, has pulled out. It is challenging times, but Benson Upas and his team at Quantum Media remain optimistic that they will deliver the tournament under the COVID-19 Nupla passing protocols. So far, only Rugby League has gotten some approval for its competitions, but things look bright for the sport of sevens and Rugby Union in general. With the opening of public venues for gaming and recreation, it's a positive sign that sports might get the approval soon. The National Capital District Commission, through their sports department, and Puma Energy are the tournament sponsors for the second year. The tournament has always been hosted here in Port Moresby at the Bava Park Rugby Union grounds. Fidelis Sukina, Trukai Sports.
And that story wraps up Trukai Sports. The weather details for the next 24 hours after the break.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast for this afternoon and tonight in the southern region. Partly cloudy with patchy rain in Port Moresby, Kerema and Popondetta. Partly cloudy and windy with brief squally showers in Daru and cloudy with a few showers in Alotau. Cloudy with a few showers in Leh, Wewak and Vanimo, and mostly fine weather in Medang. In the New Guinea Islands region, cloudy periods with brief showers in Lorengau, Kavieng and Kimbe, and partly cloudy weather in Kokoporabao and Buka. And in the Highlands region, few overnight showers, then morning fog right across the region in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kondiawa, Mendi and Wabeg.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that's the way it is this Tuesday, 18th of May 2021. On behalf of the news team, pleasant viewing, be safe and good night.